You have 3 voicemails.
Here is my younger daughter. I'm so sorry I'm giving you a liability. Take her and take some money as well. And get rid of her for me. That's so offensive. So in terms of gifts, I'm going to give you, 1 chicken, 2 pigs, probably 20 different types of fruits, maybe a bag of rice. You don't even know what the process is. How do they determine the date? What's going to happen is you give them all the information. They're going to say, all right, give me the money and get out of my house. And then I'm going to give you a number of dates.
Yeah.
Right? You're not going to sit there and watch them do some methodology, right? Hello there.
Welcome to the show where we have the convos about Vietnam,
Hello there. Welcome to Convo Comrades, a conversation with the community about Vietnam. And last week's episode of Topical 2, we talked about engagement, different sides of it, different ways of doing it, and some provocative ideas. And in this episode, we're going to talk about, what comes after engagement. Life crisis, no. Weddings. Weddings comes after engagement. And there's so many different things to talk about weddings. First of all, when is your wedding, Hugh?
I love the fact that you're learning the skill of putting people on the spot from me. And you're using it on me now. So originally, it was supposed to be last year. COVID decided that was not the case. We wanted to have actually 2 different types of weddings. Now, if you're non-Vietnamese, you're probably thinking, why the hell are you having 2 different weddings? And then if you're Vietnamese, you're probably also thinking, why are you having 2 different types of weddings? I stand corrected. There were supposed to be 3 weddings. So the first wedding was in Ho Chi Minh City, which is where Mango comes from. Mm-hmm. The second wedding was supposed to be in Hanoi, which is where I come from.
Ooh.
And then the third wedding is supposed to be in Phu Quoc, which is where we are not from. And that's supposed to be an intimate sort of small-scale destination wedding with just a small group of friends.
Yep.
That's not happening anytime soon because of COVID. We booked our wedding planner already. Shout out to the planners. Is it the planners Vietnam? I'm so sorry. Okay, cut this out.
The planners. All right.
Yeah. So we've booked our wedding planners already. I think we booked a hotel in Saigon already. Yeah, it's not happening anytime soon because of the uncertainty of COVID. We don't know when we're allowed to go back to Vietnam, when we're allowed not to be quarantined anymore in this pandemic. So it's all uncertain. That's the short answer.
Yes, I agree.
Of course you agree because it's my wedding.
I want to share my experience too because this is a two-way street, right?
Wait, not between you and me. The way you phrased it was very wrong. So yesterday you messaged me and you said that you had a call with the parents from both sides between you and Lan, and you were very stressed afterwards. Can you share why?
I want to amend this a little bit. I had a call with only my mom.
Oh, okay. And that was stressful enough.
Yeah. Let me provide an overview first. Mm-hmm. Like you, I also plan to have multiple weddings. But luckily, me and Lan and I are from the same city. Ho Chi Minh City, the greatest city in Vietnam.
Are you trying to spark some sort of argument between me and you?
No, there's no argument.
Yo, duck luck.
There's no argument. Ho Chi Minh is the greatest city.
Duck luck, team duck luck.
We're gonna have 2 weddings. That's what we planned. One in Ho Chi Minh City, and one in a destination like Phu Quoc, also intimate. Close family, close friends only. It's a small scale, and because of COVID, we don't know when that's gonna happen. Same boat as you. So yesterday I called my mom. I thought, okay, about time that the lockdown is easing up. Let's just have a quick talk about it. Just simple talk. And then I called mom. Hey, hello mom. So I think we should talk about wedding planning. Yeah. And then my mom was like, oh, yeah, lots to talk about. And then I said, what do you mean?
I thought your mom was going to say, what are you talking about, stupid?
No,
Okay,
she's
that's a reference to one of our earlier episodes about age. If you haven't checked it out, go and check it out.
super funny. My mom is super funny. Anyway, she was mentioning all these things that I haven't thought about, And the first of all was the logistics of it, where it's gonna happen, including who's gonna be on the invite list. To be honest, that stressed me out the most because in Vietnam we have so many ceremonies. Okay, we're gonna talk about ceremonies in a minute, but so many ceremonies, so many things you have to rent. Like dowry. I mean, in this.
What the hell is that word? I don't even know what that word is.
Dowry is like xính lễ. What do you
No.
give? Yeah, it is.
No. I mean, no, I don't know what it means.
Oh yeah, it's my understanding is as young girls are considered a financial burden. As the father give away the young girl to the husband, they have to give financial funds. So okay, you are getting a financial burden. Here's some compensation for you to take over.
That is so offensive.
I know.
Here is my younger daughter. I'm so sorry I'm giving you a liability. Take her and take some money as well. And get rid of her for me. That's so offensive.
That's the story about marriage. Later we can talk about why people choose not to get married, but instead to be in a civil partnership. We'll dive deep into that later. But anyway, the big picture was I'm stressed because there are many different things you have to plan for a wedding, given all these ceremonies. And we can have a talk about whether all these ceremonies are even needed. Maybe we can ignore them or omit them altogether because of this offensive tradition, right? Yeah, so that's an overview. I'm stressed out.
I kind of feel like you're always in a state where you're relatively passive and then someone has to tell you what to do. For example, your engagement in last week's episode, Lan had to tell you, yo, when are we doing this? How are we doing this? What's going to happen? When are you buying the ring? And you're like, wait, what? And now your mom's doing the same thing about how the wedding's going to pan out. And you're like, wait, what? Kind of some lost kid in the supermarket.
In my opinion, that's the most efficient way to live life, right? And
just don't think about anything
until the deadline comes. Deadline creates efficiency, right?
And stress.
No, stress gives you the push to do things efficiently. No time wasted. All right, you just do it fast.
I would not want you as an employee. I would not want you as an employee. All right, going back to the point in the previous episode of the podcast with our golden guest, you're not a startup person.
I'm also not an employee person. I'm a freelance.
No, you're not a working person.
I don't know what I do. Bitcoin. Moon.
Right, stop it. Guys, invest in Bitcoin responsibly, like always.
We're not responsible for your losses.
All right, come on then, Long. Let's talk about the processes of a typical wedding in Vietnam.
All right. But I think before that, let's have a brief context as to what is marriage.
All right, let's do it.
And how it has evolved massively. History time.
This is not going to be a new jingle. It's not going to be a new jingle in our podcast.
History time. Marriage dates back thousands of years ago. I think the first marriage, by the way, this is by Googling. I'm not a marriage expert or historian. Females. And marriage dated back 4,000 years ago. I think before that, when people were hunter-gatherers, people live in a large family with several male leaders and several more females. The sexual activities is just all over the place.
Free fall.
Yeah, free fall. Big family. But as it get developed and people kind of stabilize, settle down into a household, a few people started thinking, whoa, which one is my kid? I don't know who's my kid. So then
probably the one that you're sleeping with.
No, then they invented this concept of household and bonding between female and male, with the main purpose of identifying exactly who is my heir. And I think that's the main purpose of marriage, to produce a legitimate heir. And so that got developed more and more until King Solomon, Hebrews, which is Israel this day, practiced the concept of polygamy. Right, that's a new word I never know about. One man, several wives. Right. So King Solomon had like 700 wives. So it's ridiculous. And polygamy was very, very popular back then. In Chinese dramas, you see one king, several wives. That's completely normal, right?
And it's popular in the UK at some point as well, right? If you know about King Henry VIII with, I think, 6 wives.
Yeah, I think across the world, polygamy was popular.
But did you know that the opposite of that also happened? So one woman, many husbands.
I did not know that.
That was in Nepal, I think, I don't know how many years ago. But all of the brothers in one family would have one wife, which is just scary to think about.
What? All the...
That's exactly how you sound when your mum talks to you about weddings. Wait, what?
All the... Wait. One woman, many husbands.
Yes.
And how...
So in one family, you probably have a number of brothers, right?
Yes.
Siblings.
Yes.
They're all men.
Yes.
They'll marry one woman.
Do they marry anyone else?
No, just one woman.
Okay. I've
just blown your mind.
I'm just gonna refrain from commenting.
Okay.
Is that practice still around or no?
I don't think so. But it was in the past in Nepal, I think.
I'll just say it's not within my expectation.
Okay. Right, go on then. You were talking about polygamy.
Yeah, and then monogamy, one man, one wife, is a very new concept. The main purpose of marriage back then was to forge alliances. It was not about love. Love had no role in marriage. You know, it was formed to bond families, to make sure that the heirs are being produced. And then after some time, religious got involved in Rome, you know, church, and then they elevate the whole thing to be a holy event. So that's in the West. And as you can see, it became from producing heirs, forging alliances, to a social contract, signifying love and happiness and commitment.
To what point does it make that transition?
17th century.
So was it like just the turn of the century and then the whole world says, hooray, let's be romantic?
Historically, it was due to the Enlightenment thinkers. You know Enlightenment thinkers?
Yes.
I don't know about them at all. I just read about them. But anyway, they thought that the purpose of life was the pursuit of happiness. And so marrying someone for just forging alliances is not happy at all. And that's when love comes into the picture more and more. Linking that to Vietnam, it's the same. It's the same. Traditionally, we have a lot of influence from China and Chinese culture. You know, marrying was just to maintain the family name, producing legitimate heir. I agree that the traditional ceremonies of weddings, it's very male dominating. It's done so to signify the power of men. You know, like we talked about a younger being treated as a financial burden of the father. You know, she was considered a property of the father until marriage, which is when that financial burden is then passed down, which we have that father walking down the aisle with their daughters, you know, handing her over to the husband with some dowry. So the whole traditional marriage thing is very centered around male dominance. That's my result of researching through, you know, where did marriage come from? Why did they get married in the first place? And a lot of people in the West these days, they don't like that idea. So increasingly, they're getting into a civil partnership where everyone is equal. Sign a partnership agreement. It's exactly the same rights, but they just don't like the historical element to marriage. So that was interesting for me to find out.
Okay.
Right.
So what's the typical process of a wedding in Vietnam then?
Oh man, this is getting complicated.
It is very complicated.
The first ceremony you have is...
Wait. How many ceremonies are there?
Traditionally, there are 6 ceremonies.
6? Oh
Yes.
my God, I didn't even know. 6 ceremonies.
I just ignore them. Because
Wait. You ignore them in your research or you ignore them for your wedding?
I ignore them in my research because it's traditional. No one practices it anymore. But
Okay.
there was things like, okay, if you identified someone, you need to give them a branch of a tree.
All right. I agree. Let's skip that. Ain't nobody destroying any trees these days.
So it got shortened into, first of all, yạm ngõ, touching the alley, okay? Chạm ngõ, touching the alley. Signifies the first meeting between two families. You could have been dated for 1 year, 2 years, several years, but this is the meeting between the two family, fathers, mothers, all met together and expressed their approval. All right, you're seeing my kid? All right, yeah, good family. I agree. You can continue doing so.
How much you make? What do you do? What's your position?
And I think in a business analogy, we can treat this as the planning meeting. An engagement is about to happen. Let's plan how it's going to happen. Let's plan the logistics.
Wait, so this is Zapmo? Are you sure?
Yes.
So
I mean,
it's just a normal meeting.
yeah,
It's just like going to a restaurant.
of course, traditionally, you have to bring some gifts, have it in a formal setting. But nowadays, the modern adoption of it is just a meal between the two families,
Oh, okay. That's not too bad.
which makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Because, you know, the parents have to meet
Yeah, of course.
to find out about the other families.
Yeah.
Next is the wedding ceremony.
Oh, already done.
Not the wedding party. The wedding party at the hotel is a different thing. Wedding
okay.
ceremony. Wedding ceremony is in Vietnamese called đám hỏi.
Okay.
This wedding ceremony is when you see a very iconic Vietnamese image of long lines of people bringing big red gifts, you know, chap, lots of, you know that?
Yeah, but you're gonna have to explain to someone who doesn't know it.
Dowry. It's called dowry. Let me just explain it in a chronological order.
Please.
So after chạm ngõ, after touching the alley, the two families agreed on a date to perform the wedding ceremony. And in this chạm ngõ meeting, they also discuss details of dowry, you know, xính lễ, how much, what is the expected amount. Because in Vietnamese tradition, it's also the groom's responsibility to bring gifts to the bride's family. So in this sense, it's like exchange. Here are the goods in exchange for your daughter, which is, I think, also very offensive.
So it's a combination of gifts as well as monetary gifts.
Yes.
Oh, okay. How do you know how much you're supposed to bring?
Which should be discussed in chạm ngõ meeting, planning meeting.
Yeah, but how do you raise that question? All right, imagine you're the father of the bride and I'm the father of the groom. So, Mr. Fab, I'm very happy that we've come to an agreement on the date.
Yes.
And I think it's probably a good time for us to now discuss about the gifts.
Yes, I think it's a good time. Yes, good time.
So, in terms of gifts, I'm going to give you, 1 chicken, 2 pigs, probably 20 different types of fruits, maybe a bag of rice. Is there anything else that you think that we need to prepare from our end?
I mean, I'm a modern family, so whatever you can afford, just bring it, you know. What is most important is the happiness of our kids. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I agree. So that's all, right? That's all that I need to bring on the day?
Yes, that's all you need to bring.
Are you sure?
You can bring some financial papers.
Financial papers, some of my company financial statements. So how much monetary financial amount are you thinking about, Mr. Fab?
You know, as much as you can afford. I don't want to give you any burdens, but I'm gonna give 2 billion to my daughter. You know what I mean? It's nice that you can match that. But,
Okay.
you know, I'm not
Piss
saying
off!
anything.
I'm not giving you 2 billion. Get the hell out of my house.
But the funny thing is, I've seen a lot of videos on wedding in Vietnam, right? Where the parents announce proudly in front of the whole party, I'm giving my daughter 5 kilograms of gold. Here you go.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, I've seen it. they proudly announce it to show the family strength. Like, I'm not a small family. Here you go, 5 kilograms of gold. I may be not be accurate with the kilos, but
50 kilograms. Wear over and die. All right, come on then. Let's continue with the process.
But anyway, and all the details have been discussed in the chạm meeting, right?
Yes.
And then in the wedding ceremony, you have that ceremony where we announce the amounts, right? It's called nạp tài. Lễ nạp tài.
Oh my God, I don't know about this. Okay.
The deposit of funds. And some people call it thách cưới, which means wedding challenge. And it's often the bride's family who challenge the grooms.
What?
To bring a certain amount of gifts or financial papers.
When is this happening? At what point in the process is this? I'm so confused now.
It all happens in the chạm meetings. All
I
right?
thought we're done with the meeting.
No, but what we just said, I'm giving my daughter 2 billions. You can give whatever you can afford. That is, in a sense, a challenge.
Okay, so am I supposed to say 2 billion as well? Or am I supposed to say something higher than that?
You can say whatever you want, but at
No.
least
What's the practice?
the practice is at least match.
So it's net zero then.
Yeah, at least match. And some family will explicitly said, I will not agree for this marriage to happen if you cannot match my challenge, which is 2 billion or something.
Of course I can match it. I'll take your envelope. I'll give it back to you. But who would not be able to match that?
But it's
imagine if I'm the father of the husband or the groom, and I say, I'm not going to be able to match that. I'm going to take your envelope. I'm going to give you half of it back. That's terrible.
The main purpose was to give some funds to the kids, right?
But it's net zero. I don't get it. It's net zero.
What do you mean it's net zero? It's in addition to my contribution, your contribution.
Oh, right. Now I get it now. God, I thought the bride's family is giving the groom's family 2 billion, and then the groom's family is giving the bride's family 2 billion. That's it.
No.
I thought it's kind of like Lunar New Year.
No, it's giving the kids and giving the kids in that ceremony.
Fine. That makes sense. That makes sense now. Okay.
These have to be discussed beforehand, right? You cannot just go to a wedding ceremony
right.
and say,
that's what I was saying. Like, I'll take your envelope. I'll give it back to you.
These have to be made public.
Okay.
So I'm giving 2 billion and also 5 kilos of gold, and then it's the father's of the groom's turn.
Okay, I got
I will also give this. Very outdated tradition.
Sounds like an auction.
I know. But it's mainly to gift for the kids and mainly to the bride, because in ancient times, the bride will not be working. And so the gift of monetary value is just to give them a peace of mind that, okay, just concentrate on taking care of the household. These funds will take care of things financially for you. Anyway, after that happens and all the dowry is given, the dowry are things like fruits and things like that, rice, fruits. It's all traditional. I don't think people eat that because it has the different decorations in it. I don't want to eat a decorated watermelon. It's carved. And you cannot eat anything. So it's just for show. It's just a symbol.
Yep.
So after the groom's family came in with all the financial papers and dowry, they sit down, have tea. We talk for a little bit. The eldest person of the household will make some statement. I'm hereby approve the marriage, and things like that. And everyone burns some incense to ask for permission from ancestors. Now this happens at the bride's home, right? This is the bride pickup ceremony now. Rước dâu, okay? So groom's family comes to the bride's family, give the gifts, burn some incense, ask for approval, take the brides back to the groom's family.
And in the process, they bring this whole army of actors and actresses.
Yes.
That to me is, I just can't stand that.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I'm super straightforward about this. I just can't stand that. Okay, why do we need a group of men and women to come along with you in the first place?
Yes, to bring your dowry, because dowry are very heavy.
Yep. So you've got all these gifts. And then you would need the same number of men and then same number of women to carry all of these together with you, together with the groom, to the bride's family.
Yes.
But then these men and these women aren't your friends. They're like random actors and actresses, part of some agency that provides this service. And they'll dress coordinatedly so that they look similar to you. They complement you. They complement the bride as well. And they'll act as though that they are your friends in photos and in videos. You just don't know who they are. You're probably not ever going to meet them again. It's ridiculous.
They can be your friend, though. They can be your friend.
Yeah, they can be.
Bridesmaid and groomsmen, right? They can be your friend.
Yeah, they can be. But most of the time, they're not.
I think the idea is to have only single people to be the bridesmaid and groomsmen.
Really? Why?
It's just a tradition. If you're married, you cannot be a bridesmaid.
Yeah. So I talked to my mum about this and I asked her, like, do we need to go through this process? Because if yes, then I want my friends to be there. I don't want some random people. And then she said, well, it's up to Han's parents. We're obviously happy to do it, but up to Han's parents if they want it or not. And if it's happening in Ho Chi Minh City, I don't have a lot of friends in Ho Chi Minh City to have that number of people. I mean, Ho Chi Minh City friends that I have are mostly in the UK, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not really comfortable in having just these random people being very close to me and taking photos and videos on a supposedly special day.
Yeah, just for the sake of symbol, right?
Yeah.
Okay, these are my groomsmen carrying the dowry.
Yeah, exactly. Don't touch my dowry. Leave that pighead alone.
And that dowry is also included in the service. So I think it's an all-rounded service now.
Yeah.
Just book it and the people with the dowry will come up.
Yeah, they'll bring everything for you. And it's all just for showmanship. I don't agree with that. It's just my view.
Anyway, carry on with our ceremonies.
Sorry.
It's not ended yet.
I had a rant. Okay, go on then.
So all of that happened, burn some incense, go back to the groom's house, burn some more incense, ask more approvals from ancestors. And then that's when things end with the wedding ceremony. And the wedding party can happen on the same day. Although that would be very tiring. But it tends to be a little bit later. Where you go to the hotel, modern, right? You see things like cake cutting. I really don't understand this.
It's your turn to rant now.
I understand traditional and where it comes from. Okay, we can, I don't agree with it, but okay, I understand it. But now on the hotel, you have cake cutting, where the bride and the groom hold hands to cut the cake and then throw the cake away, and then champagne pouring over multiple glasses.
Yeah, a pyramid of glasses.
And that no one's gonna drink. I don't know what's the point of that. It's just to signify some grand.
But are you gonna eat the cake?
Things. I'm not gonna eat the cake.
You sure you're not gonna eat the cake?
No, I'm sure I'm not gonna eat the cake.
It's not good for your diet, isn't it?
No, not good for diet at all. And so I was actually thinking in my wedding I might just omit all that.
Yeah,
I might just
because it costs us a lot as well, doesn't it?
And one thing I just found out, like the flowers, in the wedding is very expensive.
Oh man, they are so expensive. They're ridiculously expensive.
We can talk about cost later.
Yeah. So why are you stressed?
Because of everything I've just mentioned, and I don't know where to start. Starting with chạm, that planning meeting. I guess that is an easy one.
Yeah, that's an easy one.
It's a meal.
Yeah.
But comes wedding ceremony, which is dowry preparation, groomsmen, bridesmaid, who's carrying what to buy.
But I thought it's all outsourced. You just pay and then they do everything for you.
I thought the same. So I called my mom and I said, that's gonna be easy, right? Arranging the dowry and things. And then my mom was like, how? And then I was expecting my mom to know how, and then my mom was asking me, okay, you find out. And then I was like, I don't know how to find out. That's why I got stressed, because I know that after some research maybe you could just find a service, but it's not that nice anymore having random people in your wedding, like you said, right? Random people in your photos. And I've reached an age now where all of my friends are married. So they're not allowed to be groomsmen or bridesmaid according to Vietnam tradition.
Who cares more? With these sort of ceremonies, is it more of Lan's parents and Lan who care more about these things, or is it more of your side?
No one cares.
Oh, no one cares. That's easy.
Yeah,
Just don't do it, or just like strip it down, right?
exactly.
I'm very lucky because my parents, like, if required, my parents will go all out. But on the other hand, also, Han's parents are relatively relaxed about all these things. So there's not a lot of pressure from our end and from my end about all these like processes.
But communication is key, I think. Now we're involving two families. I think we need to have a proper chạm ngõ meeting where all parties express what they want. You know, it maybe I think that my mom doesn't care, but maybe deep down she really wants big dowry. I don't know. It's worth having a clear communication.
Yeah. What's the alternative then if you don't have all of these random people showing up in your rước dâu?
Then it's just a simple visit, have a meal. We can burn some incense, asking for ancestors' approval. But everyone is in this close family.
Yeah. You don't have random people showing up. Like, who the hell are you? Why are you standing outside my house?
Yeah.
You know? Right?
I really want a intimate, quiet wedding.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want a loud wedding where people were like cheering. I don't know.
But to what extent do you think that people do it, not necessarily because they do it because they like it, but more of because it's always been a tradition and they want good luck?
For me, I think people are just doing it because of the tradition, maybe influence from the previous generation.
Because I remember, like, as part of that rước dâu process, right? You need to have a number of dowries. And I think it has to be an odd number. So it has to be 5, 7, or 9. And the more you have, the grander it is.
Yeah.
You know, the more respect you command, the more prestigious you are as a family, and the wealthier you're showing your neighborhood. That is absolute bullshit. I just want to say that. That's absolute bullshit. It's ridiculous.
It makes sense in ancient times because the assets were not diverse. So now you have things like Bitcoin, which which is not physical. You know, you cannot see it.
Yeah, of course. I'm not saying in ancient times it's bullshit or not, but nowadays it's completely irrelevant.
Yes.
And you're just burning money on this outsourced service, trying to, I don't know. It's
a symbol. It's a symbol.
Yeah, yeah. And I think sometimes the dynamic comes into play between the two families. Sometimes as the groom's family, you kind of feel like, oh, you want to come across as you're doing everything you can. Whatever you need, we will provide, you know?
Yeah.
You don't want to come across as, oh, I'm being a bit cheap or I'm being a bit, you know, cost conscious. But then from a bride's perspective, they want to make sure that their daughter is valued.
Yes.
You know, they want to make sure that their daughter is entering a family that respects her.
Yes.
And so there's this weird dynamic that probably deep down inside, both sides don't care. But because they don't talk or they don't expressively, you know, tell the other side what they really feel.
Yep.
It's a very sort of, what's the word? I think the technical word is high context culture, where you need a lot of context behind this, or I might have gotten it the other way around. But you need a lot of context to understand exactly what they mean or how they really feel. And that happens a lot in Asian societies. That's why, you know, the decision always, most of the time, boils down to or comes down to just having the event and just going through the whole process.
Yeah, that can avoid all the, you know, arguments, potential arguments, or something like that.
But from my end, I plan to probably completely turn the table on this. I will be the middle person. I'll just talk to both sides and then see what their thoughts are, because I don't think it's necessary. That's my view.
I agree. This thought also propped up in my mind a couple of days ago where I want to simplify things.
Do you want to hire me as a sort of like
Agent.
cost efficient, cost cutting consultant for you? You pay me so that you don't have to pay a lot for the outsourced service. And then what I'll do is I'll sit in between and I'll negotiate between the two families as a neutral party.
That sounds like a good idea, actually.
Yeah. You can pay me 10% of the cost. You say
not related at all, so you have no motive.
Yeah, I have no motive.
I had this thought in my mind that, okay, I want to simplify things down.
Yeah.
I want to cut all the dowries, whatever. But what if that stuff is important to someone?
Yeah.
In both families that I haven't thought about.
Yeah.
What if they feel offended?
Yeah.
But then I thought, but this is supposed to be about the bride and the grooms, right? And not
but the
about
thing
anyone
is, does Lan want it? Because Han doesn't need it.
Yeah, another Lan doesn't want it.
Yeah, there you go. The groom doesn't want it. The bride doesn't want it. So, I think if the families understand this and they deep down they don't want it, then it's fine. But if deep down they do want it, then it's a completely different story, isn't it?
Exactly. But we're very practical. That money saved can be spent on our honeymoon, can be spent on anything else.
Feeding the kids in the future, education, so on and so forth. Exactly. Yeah.
So it's not wasted,
Yeah.
So that is the ceremonies in Vietnam.
Okay.
Now let's talk about the difficulties of the wedding party itself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the guest list.
Go on then.
This is controversial now.
Controversial. So, okay, let's give a bit of context. So, going back to the point that I made earlier in the podcast, we're having multiple weddings, right? And now you might be thinking, why are you having multiple weddings in the first place? You just need one wedding party and that's it. Well, no, that's not the case because we're reaching a point in our lives now where a lot of our relatives and our families, friends, so on and so forth, they are relatively old. And so it's harder for them to travel. So it just makes sense to have a ceremony in Hanoi as well as in Saigon. For Long's case, it can happen in Saigon only because both families are in Saigon. So that's fine, right? So that's why there were 2 weddings that I mentioned at the start of the podcast. Now, there's a third wedding, which is this destination wedding for our close friends. And the reason why we have this concept is because we've been spending time overseas for a long time, right? And what we see as a wedding that we want is different to what our parents see. What is a wedding in the parents' eyes, Long?
I think, especially a working parent, I'm lucky that my mom is retired. But if the parent is working, then this is a chance to show, but to show how grand this could be. This is my capabilities. This is what I can do. If you do business with me, I can do similar things in the level of grandness. So this is the chance for the parents to showcase that, okay, I'm proper. There's also a culture of give and take, right? Like maybe my mom has been to a lot of weddings, has given a lot of money. So you give money as you go to wedding, right? And you feel obliged to organize a wedding so people can give you back. Right? This is more so if you're working, because when you work, you have many more connections. If you're retired, your connections just reduce. So it's just give and take, and it's just a way of maintaining relationship.
Exactly. So in Vietnam, a wedding is not about just the groom and the bride, which is, I think, quite sad for me to say, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because a wedding is supposed to be a ceremony between 2 people, right? And it's about them. The day's about them. But in Vietnam, that's not the case. And I'm sure that's the case in many Asian countries as well. A wedding in Vietnam is the coming together of many stakeholders, including the parents as well, and also their clients and their business connections. And so it's seen as an opportunity to not only to celebrate the love and the romantic relationship between the groom and the bride, but also a chance to open up, warm up, sustain business connections. What do you think about this?
Definitely sad. Very sad. If it were for me, right, there should only be one wedding. And that's the Phu Quoc one that we talked about. Intimate, close friends only. period. That should be the real definition of weddings. We invite only the people who we care, who we want to celebrate this with, and not use this party as something else, as a networking playground. If that was for me to decide. But the fact that we're organizing 2 weddings, one for the family and one for our close friends, I think it showed that, okay, it's hard to change. And we have to please the guest, the other relatives that's not so close somehow. A question that my mom asked is when I suggested the idea of, let's just have one small wedding. That's it. And then my mom was like,
what are you talking about, stupid?
Exactly. And then, she was like, what if the relative ask? And then I asked, what relative?
You don't have any relatives. Mom, you don't have any siblings.
No, there are close relatives and there's also far relatives. Like, very far that I haven't met. Like my mom's cousin. So my mom was asking, we should invite them, but they have no significance in my life.
Yeah, that's an immediate no for me.
This strike as a surprise for her. It's like, what do I say when they ask me once every 10 years?
Do you know Long? Do you know what his full name is? Do you know what his interests are? Have you seen his music video? Right? Do you know what his job is? If the answers are no, and no, then you're not coming to the wedding. That's what I would say.
Yeah, that's a very practical and direct way of saying it. Right?
I know.
No, but my mom's not gonna say that. So my mom worked out a way and say, "Oh yeah, they are UK people, so they."
Yeah. I mean, of course, I was joking. I'm not going to say that to someone.
Do you know Long? Do you know his full name?
Fat Tuấn Long. I think this topic of wedding guests is super interesting, simply because how do you determine a wedding guest list?
Yes. And now it comes also to the problem of when the person you're close to has a boyfriend or girlfriend who you're not close to, or if they have kids, right? You maybe you want to have a wedding that's purely
just quiet.
Yeah, adult, close, intimate.
Exactly. I don't want some kid crying in the background when I say something romantic, when Mango is laughing at my romantic speech.
So it's all sensitive, right? If you close to that person, but you don't invite their kids or their partners.
Yeah. I think the most important thing is the expectation of that particular ceremony, right? Or that particular party. If the expectation is a grand wedding with, 500 to 1,000 guests, including all of those that your parents know, but you don't know, then fine. That's a co-creation kind of like process. You need to do it together with your parents to decide who's coming and who's not coming. But if it's strictly your destination wedding, it's only you and your bride and or your groom, and it's all about you and you just want to decide who's part of that, then make it very clear to your other stakeholders, including your parents, that, all right, I'm only having 30 people. 30. That's it. And if that some random nephew or random niece comes along and says, oh, you're having a wedding in Phú Quốc, I want to join and I want to play the guitar there. I'm sorry, you're going to have to communicate that objective and say, oh, you can join the other wedding because, that's supposed to be the wedding for, a larger audience. Whereas this wedding is slightly different. The format's probably not going to be suitable for you. You say it in the nicest way possible, but you have to communicate that. And I think there's a lot of the times the awkwardness comes from a mismatch in terms of the objective of the wedding and how people traditionally perceive what weddings are supposed to be like. People always think that, a wedding in Phú Quốc will probably have 500 to 1,000 people as well. No, you can't do that. Yeah. Finance me and then maybe I'll think about it. But it's not even just a finance thing. Like, I just don't want that big of a wedding for my destination wedding, right? So yeah, it's complicated. It's very complicated.
I want to have a wedding where we as a bride and groom can enjoy as well. And not just go from one table to the other, take pictures, một hai ba vô,
Yeah,
moves
exactly.
on.
Yeah, let me tell that story. So shout out to Quang Anh. He shared this story. He went through a typical wedding party in Vietnam in one of those, 4-star, 5-star hotels. And, he didn't really use the word, but I can't remember on the top of my head, but I think the word was like staged. It was very sort of process driven. So, there is literally a stage in, like, imagine this huge ballroom, right? In a 5-star hotel. You have all of these circular tables that are spread across the rooms. And then the guests will go and sit there, and then the food will be presented to them, and then they'll just eat, right? And then when the bride and the groom appears and enters the room, everyone will probably, politely stop eating, and then they'll probably take out their phones and then video record or take photos of the bride and the groom. And then there's literally going to be a stage, right? And then there's going to be an outsourced service, and they're going to tell you exactly what to do, right? So, if you receive some flowers, there's literally someone who's just going to walk past you, take the flowers off your hand or of your bride's hand and walk off the stage, so that you don't have to have flowers in your hands. And then you're going to have to, your hands are going to be free to hold up glasses of wine, right? And then they're going to tell you, all right, now go here to this side of the stage and cut the cake. Now go to that side of the stage and then pour the wine. It's so process driven. And all you have to do is just stand up on the stage, smile, and you go through a process. Right, you go through a formal process that's been decided for you, that everyone deems is the industry standard. And the thing is, you're not enjoying yourselves. I'm not saying Quang Anh said this, okay? Now it's moving towards me now, and my interpretation of the wider topic. But you're probably not going to be enjoying yourself that much. You're not going to know like 80% of the guest list. You're spending a crap load of money. It's a nightmare.
I agree. It's not fun at all. So we're lucky to have very modern parents who doesn't care as much. Especially so because my mom is retired.
Lan's mom's not retired, right?
No, but she's very easygoing as well. I think she can perform her own networking events, so it doesn't have to be the wedding to network.
And Lan's father?
Also same.
Okay.
Not retired, but very easy.
Okay.
So I think we are lucky.
I don't want you to eat your own words long in the next couple of months, because the thing is, you had your call with your mother, but you haven't had the call with her parents. I'm imagining, so long. I listened to your podcast a few weeks ago, and let me make it very clear to you, Long. You better grow up.
No, that's not a realistic response at all. I was expecting so long. I listened to your podcast. What do you mean by dowry? I don't understand English.
Okay. Am I right to say you're dissing your in-laws' English? This is not going to go down well. It's not going down well. All right, backtrack. All right, so guest list. We haven't talked about the guest list. So what do you think about that? Like, if you have like all these people, there are black and white people, right? No, sorry. I'm so sorry. Right, there are black and white cases, right? You're very clear that these people are going to your weddings, and these people are not going to your wedding.
Yes.
But there are those that are in the gray area. What do you do with them?
What do you mean gray area? These are the people who may go to my wedding, right?
Right, for example, Mango and I might have a kid. What are you going to do to our kid?
Oh, yeah, okay. Like,
or, I don't know, some close friend of yours recently dated someone for like a month. What's going to happen?
Okay, since I'm having 2 weddings, right? On my intimate wedding, I'm going to be strict. There are going to be regulations.
This is a dictatorship.
When I invite someone, I don't write +1, +2, +3, whatever. I just write that person's name. I want only the named individuals in my wedding.
So you're going to have to like change your identity if you want to go to your wedding.
So that's it. That's how I'm going to treat it. Strict, because I want it to be intimate, right? Now, that's my goal and objective. That's going to be...
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
There's going to be a middle ground, right? Because maybe if a person is dating someone 1 month, 2 months, I think that's too early. But we're gonna define a period.
3 months, 4 months,
maybe 1 year. Okay, 1 year.
11 months,
No, 1 year.
11 months and 30 days.
Depends if it's a leap year or not. 1 year, then okay. Because there might be fun moments where you try to find out about the new person, right?
Yeah.
Introduce
Yeah.
new people.
Yeah.
So it can be fun too. But a lot of those
Yeah.
is not fun anymore because you want intimate.
Yeah.
One
Okay.
or two cases of that is fun.
Okay. So that means that, all right, this is your public message to the world now. Friends of long, make sure you're capable of dating someone for more than a year if you want to bring them to your wedding.
Yes. I mean, and this is I think this is a reasonable rule.
Okay, 1 year is fine.
Yeah, 1 year.
Are you sure it's 1 year, or are you sure? Do you want to make it 2 years?
I'm not gonna put it into writing now, but I will say this: there will be regulation. We are working on it, and we will release these in public statement as soon as we finish. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. And what's your regulation on kids then?
Kids, no kids.
What the?
No kids. Strict regulation.
Okay, that's fine.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I want to have a night out as well. There's gonna be a crazy night. DJs everywhere. Kids, if kids have to go back to sleep, it means their parents have to go back. It means I'm losing people on the crazy night out.
All right. Friends of long, make sure that you don't bring your kids. All right, cool.
There will be regulations communicated.
Wait, are your parents going to be there?
Yes, and they can go to sleep early. So.
All right.
All right. So that's guest list. Mm-hmm. What's your take on that? Do you have a clear-cut concept like mine?
No. So we have a clear-cut concept in terms of the number of people. But then obviously that number of people increases the more people we started to discuss between Mango and I. When we throw down names, we have a spreadsheet, then we have a ranking, it's terrible to be talking about these things like this. But as professional services people, right, we work on spreadsheets. We have like rankings of high, medium, low.
Yeah.
But that's the only way you can do it, right? I don't know how else you can do it, but that's the most sort of logical, structured way that you can do it. Yeah. So that you have some rationality behind why certain people are being invited and why certain people are not. In terms of the +1, I think we are going for the +1, and simply because I attended my childhood friend's wedding. Nikita, he's Russian, and he married to Anya, who's also Russian, and they both held a wedding in Lake Como in Italy a couple of years ago, and I attended that. And Mango didn't know Nikita and Anya at that point in time, but Nikita and Anya gave me the invite, and it was a +1. And I brought Mango to the wedding, and we flew over to Italy. It was amazing. It was the best wedding that I had ever attended. I've only attended like 3. But it was the best wedding. And how it was, like, shout out to Nikita and Anya, like, it was lovely. It was a very small, intimate wedding with around 40-ish guests only. They were just like the best friends and the most close relatives of the two sides in Lake Como. It occurred over 2 days and it was very intimate. It was very emotional. It was very romantic. And that's exactly what I want as well for my sort of destination wedding, if it were to happen in this whole COVID situation. Following from that wedding, because of the +1, now Han knows Anya and Han knows Nikita very well as well. And we hang out, we go to each other's places as well. So because of that, I think Mango and we're okay with the +1 situation. In terms of the kids situation, we don't know. Because we're okay with the +1 situation, we don't know whether we would be okay with the kids situation as well. Because then obviously that adds the headcount to the invite list, doesn't it?
Yeah, the +1 makes sense in some cases. You need to ensure that your guest has a nice experience as well. So if your guests all know each other, I think clear cut on +1 makes sense, because when your guest comes, there's gonna be someone they know.
Yeah, exactly. I was so happy. I was like very grateful as well that Mango was with me, because it was an amazing experience. But if Mango wasn't with me, then I feel like quite a bit lonely, but also I didn't have someone to share it with.
Make it a nice experience for your guests too, right? In deciding this regulation. It's tough being a regulator. Yes. Okay, so that's our views on weddings.
So another topic that I want to talk about weddings is the topic of the involvement of a shaman.
That's funny. Yeah, a good topic. Yeah.
It is funny. And guys, get ready. I'm gonna rant. So for those who don't know, like a shaman in Vietnam, I don't even know if the word is a shaman or like some sort of
Teacher.
No. If you literally translate it, it's literally teacher, but it's not teacher. It's like a religious teacher, religious person, right? It's kind of like a blend of like a monk and a priest and a shaman into this morphs into this entity. But basically, what happens in Vietnam and what happens a lot is whenever there's like an important date, an important milestone in your life, you go to a shaman who I don't even know if they practice Buddhism or Hinduism, or I don't even know what their religion is. But what happens is they will find a date, and I'm saying this very sarcastically here, quote unquote, find a date for you that is the most suitable date to perform that particular ceremony. If you're organizing a wedding, any part of the wedding ceremonies or the processes that Long's talked about, you will find the right date, and even to the extent the right hour that will bring you the optimal outcome. What do you think about this practice?
Horoscope. I think that goes back to. I think it's a practice of reading star signs.
We talked about horoscopes and zodiacs in a previous episode of our podcast. Feel free to check it out.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, what do you think about this thing?
I think it's reassurance. All big steps in life require some sort of reassurance, and these shaman comes in to this market niche, be it logical or real or not. But we will provide some saying that was going to reassure you. So as you know, you get married, you open a company, you do something big. It feels nice just to have that reassurance. The cost of that sometimes is not expensive for most people. So they just do it just because so many people have done it before and they felt that at least if I do it, the only thing I'm losing is a little bit of money. And if I gain, I will gain reassurance. If I'm lucky, I will gain that exact optimal outcome that the reading is saying.
And if you're unlucky?
You just lose money. That's all. So some people really believe, but some people really don't care, but they just want to, oh, I'm scared if I don't do it. Bad things will happen. Let's just do it for sake of it. You know?
FOMO.
Yeah. So that's how they still doing it.
Have you done it, or are you guys doing it?
I haven't thought about this, you know.
There you go, an added complication.
So finding the right shaman, you have to research into these guys.
Yeah, like read up on the reviews. Like, did they have 5 stars? Okay, what's my view? All right, I'm gonna rant now.
Yeah.
My view is this is absolute bullshit. I'm gonna tell you why. Okay, I'm gonna tell you why. So, for those who don't know, so because of our situation at the moment that we're living in the UK, Mango and I had a civil ceremony in the UK, right? So we actually technically are married now. Now, in order for that to happen, our families flew over, luckily, just before COVID. So we were extremely lucky at that point in time. In order to decide what the date was, the parents had to discuss and decide whether they wanted to approach a shaman to find the right optimal date, right?
Yeah.
I didn't give 2 shits about this. I didn't care. Mango didn't care. I think my parents' side, they were like, they're happy to do it if it's required, once again. But Mango's father is really keen to get the date. So that's fine. So what happened was, in agreement, Mango's father would source a shaman by himself and then would come up with a number of dates and hours, suggestions. And then simultaneously, in parallel, my mother would source another shaman. You know where this is going. And then come up with a number of dates. Give them all the context, what we're doing, our surnames, so on and so forth, our occupancies, where we're living, our address. I don't even know. Are they going to go on Google Maps and find our address? Okay. Yeah. And then my mum's shaman is going to come up with a number of dates as well. And then we're going to discuss what the dates are.
Yeah.
Turns out the 2 sets of dates are completely different, which is so, oh my God. I knew this was going to happen. I told Mango in the background, look, I'm sure this is going to happen. And then she said, all right, let's wait and see. That's exactly what happened. Mango's father came back with like 3 or 4 different dates that are not the same to the shaman that my mum consulted. So what's going on? Like, what do they do? Like, they're absolutely useless. I'm sorry, they're absolutely useless.
Maybe they practice different region, they have different different regulations to follow.
So that's the first argument that I have, right? For my very specific personal example, it didn't work and it's just not consistent at all. The second example would be a lot of people out there, they consulted so many different shamans, find all of these optimum dates, they ended up divorcing.
Yeah.
How do you explain that? Right? At the end of the day, it's about whether you're a match for each other and whether you're going to live romantically and happily together. That's all it matters. So bringing all these added complications, I think to me is just completely unnecessary.
Well said. I agree.
But you're still going to do it. You're still going to do it because you're a low risk guy.
Maybe, I need to weigh the cost first. I always ask for the cost.
But this is my counter argument to this, Long. Okay?
Yeah.
Because if you do it for this, you're going to do it for so many other milestones in your life. And you're also going to do it for so many other things in life as well. For example, you said in the last podcast, you're going to do it at the start of every year.
Mm.
Right? Now you're going to do it whenever you open a company, when you buy a car, when you have kids, whatever. Right? Then it becomes a norm for you. It becomes habitual. And then all of those costs add up financially, but also all the time that you spend on this adds up. That is wasted opportunity. So that's why, to me, personally for me, I don't know about you, but personally for me, I cut it right from the head of the snake. I don't let it go on. I just stop now. This is what I believe in. This is completely unnecessary, and I don't need to think about this for the rest of my life in how many decades to come.
Well said. Well said.
But yeah, what do you think? Because you're saying that, the cost is not that much, but actually it is if it accumulates. The cost of time and the cost of money.
I agree.
Do you?
Yes, I agree. I want to save costs as well. Certainty is always a good thing for me, but cost is also
but it doesn't bring certainty. That's the thing.
Yes. No, it brings a temporary reassurance. Like, all right, some guy said it's okay for me to do so. So it's
some
a very
guy. That brings confidence. Some guy.
But no, after this podcast, I think everyone can reevaluate deep down inside. Do you need that reassurance? That's just not based on logical. It adds no value.
Yeah. You don't even know what the process is. How do they determine the date? What's going to happen is you give them all the information. They're going to say, all right, give me the money and get out of my house. And then I'm going to give you a number of dates.
Yes.
Right? You're not going to sit there and watch them do some methodology, right? You're not going to see the dates being scribbled down on a pen that no one's holding. Holy shit, the 7 stars are telling me these things. All of our grandparents and ancestors are telling me these things. You're not even seeing it. It's just some guy taking your money and then telling you to get out of their house. They're going to watch some Netflix and then afterwards they're going to scribble down some random dates. This, to me, it just does not make sense.
Well, there's an argument here. Deep down in my mind, I still believe maybe it works. Maybe there is some guy who knows how it works. But like all businesses in life, there's going to be copycats, scammers who... Okay, maybe there's a way of reading stars, but then your neighbor saw it and, oh yeah, that's easy. I could copy that and I could say shit dates. And so the real guy, there's no way to verify the real guys anymore.
Yeah, exactly. How do you verify the quality of the product? I've verified it personally. It doesn't work.
When something is hard to verify, maybe it's better not to purchase it in the first place.
Some people might tell me that, you guys were lucky because you did it before COVID, so that's why the dates worked. Well, my argument to that is, we already planned those are the 2 weeks that the parents are going to come over to the UK. So it's going to fall before COVID anyway. So that is not a valid argument. It's ridiculous. I'm so angry right now.
So our conclusions here is
shamans are bullshit.
No. Do what your heart tells you to. If,
No. And your brain. And your brain. Do what your heart and your brain tells you to.
It turns out that maybe some people determined to go down our route or your route. of not not consulting a shaman and believing in that. Maybe throughout the process they will feel, oh shit, I'm scared, I'm uncertain. Then that's not good, And if all it takes for them to be reassured is just to pay some money for some guy to say something, maybe that's better. They can have a more enjoyable experience and not doubting themselves, right? There's a case.
Yeah.
There's a case, but for extreme people who really wants that
Fine.
reassurance.
Maybe we can have a topic, once again, we can have a topic on religion, on religious practices and beliefs. I think there's a slight difference though, right? Because when we're talking about religion and when we're talking about burning the incense and talking to the ancestors, there's a sense of connection. A personal and intimate connection with an entity that you believe in. Whereas asking a shaman to find a date for you and not being involved in that process, that's different. And I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
All right. Another topic that I want to discuss, Long, is how much do you actually give in a wedding?
Yes.
How do you know that? How do you determine how much you're supposed to give?
It's a personal estimate.
It's not a personal estimate.
It is a personal estimate.
It's not a personal.
The way I treat this, the way I approach, I have not been invited to a lot of weddings.
Yes.
But if I were to be invited to some weddings in Vietnam, I would look at the hotel. I would go on the hotel website to look at their restaurant's menu.
Oh my God.
And to choose a 3-course meal to see how that adds up. And I will give that money. That's a fair way of doing that. You want to pay for what you eat. And there are many people who choose to pay more or even pay less, depending on the relationship. Or people who just don't want to estimate at all. They just give a
standard
amount. Yeah, so that's my way. I'm a fair guy, I pay for what I eat. I don't want to owe anyone anything. Yeah, that's my way of approaching it. How about yours?
So this was a very, very difficult question for me when I was invited to Nikita's wedding. Nikita, I don't even know if you're listening to this. Probably not. But it was the first time ever that I was invited to a wedding that I was like a proper adult. I had a job. The other weddings, I just went with my parents. I was a little kid, right? So I didn't know much about that. And they did everything for me. So I had to find everything about it by myself. What I did was I asked around my company. So I just asked my colleagues, I asked 5 different people, how much does someone actually give to someone for a wedding? They'll give me a few examples and some ranges, right? But then I also need to add in a slight complication, and that's because I'm flying to Italy, and then I'm also purchasing the flight, and I'm also, renting accommodation for the night as well. It was very difficult for me, but I think the process that I went through is I just asked a lot of people who have a bit more experience in going to weddings, and then they'll tell me how much that, is typically given. And then, I match it with my particular circumstance and, the circumstance of flying over to somewhere else to attend the wedding as well. And then I land on a number. But to me, there's no science behind it as well. I didn't look at the website. I didn't go to the resort and look at the website. That's what I did. But yeah, I was very inexperienced for that particular wedding. I didn't know.
There are many ways of approaching it, but I think my approach is...
Yeah, I think your approach is very sensible for a Vietnamese wedding.
Yours might be hard because maybe the venue doesn't serve food normally.
Yeah,
and they hire a different food company.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't know.
Yeah.
But for Vietnamese wedding, it's normally restaurants in a big hotel. You can quickly, or some people have different tiers. If they see 5-star hotels, okay, I don't know, 5 million.
That's a lot. Wait, 5 million is a lot, isn't it?
I don't know.
Well, you don't know anything. You don't know anything.
I'm giving a random number. I haven't been to a lot of.
Yeah.
But that's what I would do. It's fair, right? You don't want your friends organizing the wedding to lose money.
Yeah.
Because you haven't contributed your.
Yeah.
I treat it like a dinner with friends. If you eat dinner with friends, you split it equally.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, depending on the friend, I wouldn't be as strict as just cost based. It's a memorable day.
Yeah.
It's an important milestone. You will want them to go on a honeymoon as well, proper honeymoon, enjoy themselves. And of course, the next steps for them is having kids, probably most of the time. So that's going to be very costly as well. Okay, cool. shall we tackle some of the questions that we have from the viewers and the listeners?
Yes. So the first question is from Jin.Pumpkin. Shout out to Jin.Pumpkin. Question reads, average cost, ? I'm assuming average cost of a wedding, right? Maybe you can answer this.
The quick answer to this question is that it depends. And I know that you hate to listen to this answer, but it really depends. It depends, like we've been talking about, it depends on how much of that process of a Vietnamese wedding that you want to go through, how big your final wedding party is, whether you're even going to have a destination wedding or not. Right, so it depends so much. There's a video on Vox that talks about average costs and why weddings are so expensive. I think they called some wedding planners in the US, and the cost lands at around $17,000, which I think is actually on the low end, because they highlighted in other cities like New York, it goes up to like $70-something thousand for a wedding as well. So it really, really depends, and the range is massive.
Yeah, the use of wedding planners is also new to me, right? It's a new concept. What do they take care of? They take care of all the logistics.
They do a lot of stuff for you. So they know all the suppliers. You don't have to contact the suppliers. They will arrange the hotels for you to visit, for you to have a look. They've got a lot of examples of what's been done in the past, so you know what is good and what is bad. They know a lot. I mean, imagine like this big ceremony. They've gone through a lot of mistakes, and you don't want to go through the mistakes, right? So you can learn from their mistakes or the mistakes that's been done by other grooms and brides, and then avoid those.
Maybe I should consider, because I did not consider getting a wedding planner.
Oh no, you should. I highly recommend.
All right. Thank you, Jin.Pumpkin. Moving on to the next question from, I'm sorry if I cannot pronounce this right, Haverstige. From Haverstige, right? Your thoughts about prenup. And this is prenuptial agreement, right?
Can you explain what a prenup is?
Yes. Prenuptial agreement, the way I understand it, is an agreement between two persons before they enter into marriage, set out their assets, rights, and sometimes include the rights of raising up the children as well. Just to be clear, what is whose. So in the event of a divorce, everything is split accordingly. Just to make clear boundaries that, okay, I'm not married to you yet, and I own 3 houses, 5 shares in Tesla. When we get divorced, I'm not splitting this 50-50 with you. I still have 3 houses and 5 shares in Tesla. And that's a very layman terms of saying it. But there will be complications.
Yep.
So let's talk about the pros of this. It's very clear.
Well, look, this is completely your answer, right? Because I didn't have a prenup, so.
Yes, maybe I should.
Oh, you didn't?
I did not have a prenup. No.
Oh, I thought you had a prenup.
I did think about getting a prenup.
Okay.
So this is a good question for me, right?
Yeah.
I'm sharing my thoughts. So the pros of it is absolute clarity. There is no
certainty, low risk.
There will be no disputes later on when you divorce.
Yep.
And the opposite of this, obviously, is how unromantic it is. Just before you're getting married, you're talking about divorcing, right? But we live in a world now that divorcing is just so common. It's not as rare as before, and a divorce can be very expensive. You split 50-50. So to prepare this in advance can help a lot.
Yep.
Ease a lot of stress later down the line. With my special circumstance, my family, my mom has been through divorce, and I know how stressful that is. So a prenuptial agreement can help, but it doesn't help immediately. It helps later down the line.
I'm assuming she didn't have one back then.
No, she didn't have one. But in Vietnamese law, it's pretty clear cut, right? Like assets wise.
I didn't even look into it.
That you can clearly see which assets belongs to who on what date and what is the marriage date. So all of those information can clearly be gathered, and when divorce happens, you can present that to court and said, yeah, Your Honor, I own this house before getting married. That person is not getting half of this house.
Oh, I thought it's just 50-50.
50-50 for the assets that you earned after getting married.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so anything before married is yours.
To what extent do you think that a prenup actually provides more incentive for you to get divorced? Because before a prenup, then probably you're thinking, oh no, I have to go through all this process. It's not clear cut. It's stressful. Let's just live with this arsehole for the next couple of years and deal with it. But now, because of prenups, it just makes things a bit easier for them to decide.
Which I think is good.
Why is that so?
In my view, prenups isolate all financial problems and let you focus on marriage as only for love. If there is no love, why stay? Why? Because of financial complexity, you're stuck in this marriage that you're not loving. So prenup helps you clear your mind. Like, don't worry about financial. We've got you covered. If you don't love that guy or that lady, go your own ways. Nothing's stopping you. Which I think is good, right? You're getting married because of love. Or supposedly because of love.
So you're an advocate of prenups then?
Yes.
Oh, so why do you have one?
Maybe I will have one. Because I'm not technically...
What, you can have one after your marriage?
No, you can only have one before. But I'm not technically married
Oh,
yet,
yeah, you're not
so
married yet. Yeah.
I can still have one. But interestingly, prenups are not legal in the UK, It can be taken into consideration in court later on. But just by having it doesn't mean that you're going to split like that automatically.
But what do you think about the argument about, that you raised that point in one of the earlier episodes about if you have it there, if you think about it, then your mind is geared towards that? I think it was in the horoscope or the zodiac episode.
Yes.
So if you have a prenup, it's kind of like you're already considering divorce as an option, as something that can happen. Does it show the lack of belief in the relationship?
It is unromantic, I would say so. But like life insurance, you buy it, you don't want to be dead by...
No, but everyone's going to die.
Yeah.
But not everyone's going to get divorced. It's slightly different, isn't it?
So there's many different types of insurance, like travel insurance. You don't want to get into an accident when you travel, but you still buy an insurance. That covers only for that trip.
True.
Right? So same.
I would not buy it, but I think we have to in order to get the visa to a country.
Actually, I think it makes sense to buy, even if you don't require that to have visa.
Really?
Because sometimes when you're stuck because of COVID or because of volcanoes, so the flights are delayed. So my thoughts about prenup, definitely good, positive thoughts, but it might be unromantic and maybe more suitable for the super rich, The fact that you're having a prenup means that both of you or one of you has extreme wealth. So if you don't have extreme wealth, maybe you don't have to worry about prenups. To complicate things. Just to protect assets before marriage. All right. Yes, interesting. Thank you for your questions. Now we have a couple more questions from our beloved audience. This is from _B87. B87 asked about the difference between civil partnership and marriage. This concept is not existent in Vietnam, but new in the Western world.
What is it then?
Essentially, legally and in form, it's the same. Civil partnership signifies two people are in a relationship, committed, same as marriage. And the concept was introduced for same-sex marriage. Previously, they cannot get married. But now with civil partnership, they can. This option was made available to opposite-sex couples. We talked about how marriage stems from a traditional of handing over a financial burden, right, of a lady to a husband. Some people dislike that. They just don't like the idea of, okay, if I'm getting married, I'm admitting myself as a financial burden. I'm being transferred over from my father to my husband. I don't like that. We're equal here. Let's be modern about it. Let's sign a civil partnership agreement. Treat it like a business.
Wait, but in Vietnam, it's both are still happening, isn't it? Like you get married, but then you still go to the local council and you sign some papers.
Yeah, which is a marriage certificate.
Yeah. So isn't that the same?
No, a civil partnership is completely different in the UK, like a different form. You don't divorce. You go to a dissolution of your partnership. It sounds like a company.
Oh.
It's just a form factor, and all the rights is the same.
So what did I get myself involved in?
You're definitely a marriage. It's just called a civil ceremony, but it's a marriage.
Okay. That's why I got confused, because my event back in January 2020, that was called a civil ceremony. So I was like, wait, so I'm not married?
No, it's marriage. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
Civil partnership will scream corporate to you the moment you sign papers, because it will say agreement. It will say these are the partners. So it will sound very equal, right? The option of it was made for same-sex marriage, but now expanded to opposite sex for people who don't like the idea of, traditional marriage. And the final question we have is from _Dương Han. Shout out to _Dương Han.
Very loyal listener.
Question is, wedding versus living together. I think we've covered this, right?
Not really. Is there a need to get married at all, do you think?
Yes.
Yes. Why is that so?
At least in the UK, there are financial benefits. You can share your tax allowances. I'm not a tax advisor. Trang is. You can share tax allowances. Things make more sense financially. You share the same house. You save electricity.
But you can live together. You share the same house and you save electricity.
Oh, yes, exactly.
So do you need to get married to land at all?
Tax allowance. No, but it shows commitment.
Yeah.
It shows that I'm in this. If I get out, it will be very costly divorce unless I have a prenuptial agreement.
But it's also, the whole process is very taxing on your mind as well. At the end of the day, I think it goes to show that both sides are committed to something. It's very easy to say things, but then to just live with each other, but then you're not committed. And when you have some sort of formalized commitment like that, it's easier to make decisions going forward that affect both sides. Easier in terms of raising kids, easier in terms of choosing schools, because deep down inside, the exit in this sort of formal agreement between the two sides will be very costly for both sides. It just eases you in terms of coming to a decision together because you have the interest of both sides at heart.
Well said. And that is it for our questions. Thank you for tuning in into this week's episode, guys. Please do share us your thoughts on marriage, on engagement. What do you think? Do you agree with our thoughts just now? As always, this is a community, and join our community on Convo Comrades on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. As for now, bye-bye.